meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. And call the roll call, please. Madam
Commissioner
Clerk.
Bartleman?
Here.
Commissioner Parker?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Judge Clymer?
Here. And Commissioner Bartleman, you offer a prayer, please.
Let us pray. Father, we just thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the opportunity we have to gather together and conduct the business of this county. Just pray you be with us as we make decisions, that they will be the decisions that need to help make this county progressive, Father, and help us to make lives better for all and provide opportunities for people to stay in this county and find jobs in this county. Father, we're thankful for all those here today, Father. We're thankful for their involvement in county government, for their interest to come and observe and comment. We're thankful for the Boy Scouts that are here today, Father. We just are thankful for their service and dedication and what they learn as Boy Scouts, Father. We just know that will help to make them even better citizens. Father, we ask you to be with us day by day. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And speaking of the Scouts, we have Scout Troop 1 from West Paducah that's going to lead us with our pledge. Guys, go ahead.
You stand, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a regular agenda tonight as well, but we're going to hear from the folks who've come to address us in the public part of our meeting. If you want to address the court as to the proposed insurance tax, you should have your name. If anybody doesn't already have their name, anybody who doesn't have their name on the list that wants to speak, looks like we've got everybody on there. What we'll do, give everybody 3 minutes to talk. That worked pretty well the last time. We won't interrupt. We won't. If you have a question, certainly answer the question, but we don't want to take away from your time by answering the question while your time's running. And so, and I guess we're not smart enough to be able to deduct the time back and forth, to go back and forth. But anyway, it worked pretty well that we give you 3 solid minutes to talk. We'll write down the questions, and at the end, after everybody has spoken, we will go back and try to address the questions that we have. I want to also just address some things on the board here. I want to give you some general information before you come up and use your time to dispel a few things that some people have raised that are not accurate. For instance, we've had several people who are voiced that they're really against the county building an aquatic center. The county, there's a couple of you right now, yeah. We don't want the county building an aquatic center. We're not building an aquatic center. County's not got any plan now, probably never will have a plan to build an aquatic center. That's the city. And so the county's not a part of that. Also, this proposed tax would be just for general revenue, operations revenue. It's not to do anything. One of the other things people say, we don't want the county building a hotel downtown. The county's not going to build a hotel downtown. That's the city. And so it's understandable. You're not in government. People think they hear about government, local government building a aquatic school or a aquatic center, a motel. You don't understand it. That's all city stuff. So let me just walk you through some of these things, and then we'll turn it over to you, ladies and gentlemen. Just the highlights of why revenue is needed. Just go down through them very quickly. We spent from savings for over a decade We have what we call a reserve, and we've taken that from $8.6 million in reserves in 2009 to $767,000 in October of 2018. So about 9 years took it down almost $8 million. Our bond rating, which is the rating at which how we're rated to borrow money. What's our risk? Our bond rating declined because our reserves were so low. It might sound like $767 or $1 million is a lot of money. It's not for a government this size, a county this size. And so because we spent out of reserves and got our savings dwindled, just like if you were to go to the bank and say, well, what's your collateral or what's your ability to pay back your loan? Our ability to pay that back reduced greatly over the years. Our tax rate today is 14% less than it was in 1990. Tax rate today, 14% less than it was in 1990, 30 years ago. The PVA, as you may know, Property Valuation Administrator, has greatly underassessed property for decades. We have been working through that, finding properties that were completely omitted, not even on the tax roll. We have also found we don't know what percentage, but a large percentage of properties that were greatly undervalued. $1 million properties valued at a tenth of their value, and so the tax rate applied to a tenth of the value, and so we're greatly reduced in the amount of tax money that we receive. People then think, well, so because we're starting to recapture those, because we're discovering properties, say $1 million property been assessed at $40,000. Now we're going to get it assessed at $1 million. The money ought to start flooding in. That would be the case with math, but there is a state statute that says that a county's revenue cannot increase from property tax more than 4% greater than what it was the year before. So even if we were to find property, that the result would be, let's just say that it would double our tax revenue. Say the county's property doubled in value somehow. By math, it would double the amount of income that we could receive. But that statute says our maximum amount would be only 4% greater than the year before. So it would be years at 4% every year climbing before that the value of that tax could actually be captured by us. We have deferred costs, about $500,000 in paving that needed to be done that we didn't do, so we just couldn't go further into savings. There was no money there to do it. We have deferred about a little over $1 million, $1.1 million in equipment purchases and property maintenance. One example is in one of our parks, one of our economic parks. It has not been mowed for many years because prior administrations thought, well, we can save some money by that. We don't want to go into our savings to do this mowing. We'll let it go for a little bit. The problem is, some of you folks are farmers and you know about land. Even if you don't, you can envision, I would think, that you don't mow a property for many years. There comes a time when you can't mow it anymore. You can't even bush hog it. You got to go in there with a dozer, and a dozer costs more than a mower. And so the costs come up. Eventually, you get kicked from putting things off, and just like the roads, fixing a little pothole here or there doesn't cost too much money. You let that go for a year or two, Now, not only do you have a dangerous situation, people blowing out tires and that sort of thing, but it costs more to fix major problems than it does smaller ones. We've got charts of comparable counties. We spent a good bit of time trying to compare McCracken County best we can with other counties that tax insurance. There are many that have taxed for years. I can't say most. I don't remember the number now. I think it was, you remember, Steve, 20-something? Anyway, there's a most counties of our size or greater do tax insurance, and they tax those that tax in the general area of like 8% for tax. Some all the way across the board, all forms of insurance. Some omit health, as we are proposing to do, to not tax health. They also, the counties that tax insurance, the majority of them have property tax rates that are greater than McCracken counties. So not only have they been taxing insurance for years and at a greater rate than we're proposing here tonight, but they have a property tax rate that's about 20% on the average higher than what McCracken counties is. They also, those counties are growing at an average rate of around 9%. We're not growing here really at all. Can't say that because we don't have insurance tax, that's why we're not growing, but we've got to have some revenue to do some things, and it's a logical assumption that it contributes to not having a growth rate. I think the thing on the comparable county that you take from that is, why is it that we believe in McCracken County that we can tax property at a 20% lower rate? We can not tax insurance at all when the comparable counties are taxing it 8% or thereabouts. But we can grow, we can prosper, we can be just fine. It just doesn't add up. Pensions will increase by about $3 million by 2025. We'll reach nearly 100% of wage in the sheriff's office and jail because they're on a different tier of pensions. And so essentially we pay whatever we pay to a sheriff's deputy or a jailer. Y'all sit there. A few of you will shake your heads. I don't believe that. And I'll show you the figures. You can believe it or not, but it's just fact. And so by 2025, we'll be paying sheriff's deputies and jail folks for every dollar. We're going to pay $1 in pension costs. So that's sort of the, as I said, the long and the short of it. We have, I can tell you that myself and the three commissioners have put an incredible amount of time into trying to get to the bottom of this. We don't like taxes. You know, people don't like taxes. We've got to pay the taxes ourselves too. We realize that there are going to be people that are vocal against that. I have heard from a good number of people who come here, heard from a smaller number of people out on the street or whatever. Also heard from a good number of people who say, look, I see what's going on. I don't like paying tax, but I want my county, my community to be nice. I want our children to get off of the dump, to play soccer. I want to have the dilapidated buildings, homes cleaned up. You know, the way I look at it, you keep your own property up, keep it nice. You want your street, your neighborhood, your block to be nice. Don't you want your county to be nice too? And I don't mean elaborate, superfluous things. I mean just have the basic services, the fire, the law enforcement protection, good roads, have the things that you need in the county to enjoy your county and to have a nice place to live. So that's sort of the short story. Again, we'll have you come up once at a time. If you would please stick to that 3 minutes, and we'll have a timer. We will not interchange with you, so we don't take away from your time, but we'll try to address those questions that you ask if you do so while you're up here. We appreciate it. I do want to tell you, this is local government. This is kind of what it's about. We're accessible. We live right here. We're going to come up, and so we want to hear what you have to say. We just know that there's certain things that have to be done to get us up to speed to where we need to be. And we appreciate that you're taking a role in your government.
We're going to have an on-deck system. David Thomas, you'll be the first speaker, and then I'll call another name and ask you to come in the on-deck chair. Mr. John Norris. Thank you.
John Norris.
Oh, I didn't check my phone. Last time I couldn't get it to do right.
Are these your questions?
Yes.
Mr. Doris, if you'd have a seat there, please. Judge,
Yes.
there are some written questions that
Okay.
Mr. Thomas would like handed out to you.
Okay.
all.
All right.
I thought that would save you from writing them down.
All right. All right. That'll help.
These are three written questions with additional documentation sheets. The first question is reviewing the fiscal court website financial page showing financial statements and budget appropriations, total receipts, claims, and cash balance. Since 2014, there's been a cash balance greater than $4 million every year. In my reviewing of KRS 68.310, the cash balance should not be depleted, much less negative. If there was $4 million cash balance in June of 19 plus $900,000 current deficit, then where is the accountability of this $5 million? This is a similar scenario faced by the 6 previous fiscal courts. Question number 2, with the county being financially in need of additional funds, why are we spending large sums of money out-of-town consultants to choose sites for a sports complex and a new airport? This could be accomplished by a local volunteer group. Both of these will be difficult to fund if built. Especially relevant is the airport, since President Trump wants to terminate the EAS program established in 1978. This would eliminate commercial air service to Paducah. Currently, we have 40% of 70 occupied seats. We, the taxpayers, are paying United Airlines, a private corporation, $2,200 a day, $68,000 a month, $816,000 a year for empty passenger seats. So why at this time do we need to possibly spend unfunded matching fund money for a new $25 million terminal? My third question is, since the fiduciary audits reports of this fiscal court by Mark Harmon have shown repeated deficiencies since 2016, misstatement of capital assets since 2016, being $400,000 in 2018, lack of adequate control over bid process, deficiencies with purchase order system, lack of internal control of financial reporting, weakness of reporting liabilities and debts, and lack of internal control over state funding grants totaling $1.3 million. It's my opinion that there have been several deficiencies with the fiduciary responsibility of this fiscal court. Therefore, why enact an additional tax until all deficiencies are corrected, especially until the actual tax revenue is totaled and collected from the PBA under the under-assessment scenario? How do we really know if your proposals and requests are indeed accurate? Because in the past, so many of them have not been. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Reese Burnett.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to be here
sir.
to make some suggestions today. I would suggest if there has to be a tax, and I realize we, as a county, we have many things, many challenges ahead of us, and we want to grow. But I would recommend if there has to be a tax, I'd hope and recommend it would not be applied to insurance policies. These are the points of my argument. Some residents of the county don't pay property homeowners HO insurance, just as some people don't have to pay water bills or trash. Many people who rent don't pay one or both of the above, and we have a lot of residents in the city and county who rent or lease. Would you estimate 20%? That's a rhetorical question, okay? But would you recommend 15, 20%? So that's not a fair way to tax it across the board. Also, it should not be a percentage. I would suggest it should be a flat rate for everyone. Each household may be rationed out monthly. Or even better, it should be paid on something like, for instance, I know this won't be a happy thought either, but a cell phone bill or electric bill instead of an insurance policy. Here's the main part of my argument. More households, people across the board either pay an electric bill or have a cell phone, whereas not everyone pays homeowners insurance at an address. A large percentage of the population may not pay homeowners or property insurance in McCracken County. And similarly, not everyone pays a water bill. However, almost every household pays an electric bill, and almost everyone now pays for at least one cell phone in a household. Additionally, if we were ever asked to pay for additional 911 funding, then cell phones or electric bills should be the way to do it most equitably, at a small incidental monthly rate add-on, not a percentage of the bill, again for the same reason provided throughout. It shouldn't be just about the easiest way to collect it, because electricity or cell phone companies would or can fight off adding this tax to their bills more easily. I don't know. I'm sure you all have considered many different options and all. I know there's challenges in whatever way you do it. I know we need to come up with the money to make some of these good things happen here in the county. Please also note we have a large percentage of people renting, living in, and enjoying the benefits of the city and McCracken County, but who may not own property, pay insurance on property here, or may even license their vehicles in neighboring counties for whatever reason. I mean, I remember when I was going to college and other places, no, I lived over there, but I paid the insurance tax. Insurance in another place, or parents did. Anyway, for example, convenience to avoid taxes and insurance autos in lower rated counties or where the parents may live or relatives. However, every household probably still has to pay an electric bill if they reside in the city or in McCracken County. And again, if another tax has to be added, it should be a flat rate to each household, not a percentage of a bill. I'm sure that you've considered many of these things, but if you take a look at that again, I'd greatly appreciate it.
All right. We'll address some of those at the end.
Thank you.
Shannon Smith.
I didn't really know I was coming here until an hour ago. My granddad called me. I said I just wanted to go. Well, I don't really see the point to adding the tax because what else do we need for the county? I know we have that, but where are we spending it then? I mean, for me, I'm about to get my license this April, and I'm going to have to pay an extra $10 on my insurance for my truck. And that's just me with one thing. What are my parents supposed to do with a truck, health insurance, house insurance, and all the rest? I could see the point if I could saw some problems in the county, which one thing would be the flooding in certain areas, but besides that, I don't see any other point to increase the tax.
Thank you.
Stan Simon.
Well, first thing, I want to respect Mr. Clymer. I've always thought a lot of him, but I think he's the man that's behind all this stuff. And I agree. We've got property all over the county, and we've got swimming pools, we've got soccer, we've got youth. They're all over out there by me, because I go to them. And I'm like the other guy. If you're going to take and put the taxes on anything, put it on your cell phone bill or put it on your electric bill. I'd come more doing that than I had. That's just like, I don't know about the rest of these folks, but I pay a lot of money out on medicine, about $1,400 a month. And then they gonna tax me more? That ain't right. And the thing we can do is quit spending. We can do that. You know, you can freeze this stuff for 2 or 3 years, and you can go back and come back and it'll work. But as long as you spending, that's like me. If I spend everything I had at home, hey, I'd be up to here. And not only the taxes on the insurance company raises the taxes. Hey, mine's doubled. Mine has doubled on my car and truck and my house. So I think it's time to stop. That's the way I feel.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I may be asking some questions and things that have already been presented to you guys. So if I do, I apologize for that. And I can appreciate your all's situation that you're in and actively trying to do something to fix this. But, you know, I think what I'm hearing from a lot of people and reading social media or what have you is that this potential imposed tax has not been quantified for the county or for those that are sitting in this room or might be watching the news tonight and are opposed to it. I took some census information last week. We've got a whole lot of, 27,000 homes in McCracken County, only in the county, I believe. I think an average homeowner's premium would be $1,000, $1,200, something like that. And most folks have 2 autos per home. So you take 6.9 of 54,000 autos in the county, 6.9% of their auto insurance premiums. That's a whole lot of money. It's about $3 million. So I would urge you guys, prior to making any kind of vote or anything, to have a group come in, give us a study, try to quantify what this looks like, because there's other options on the table. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm praying that you guys will figure that out for us without taxing us too much. So I think that's all I've got. You know, out of 126 counties in this Commonwealth, there's 44 that have these same taxes. It's an overwhelmingly large percentage of counties that do not tax. So I also think it's funny that it said here, this is a tax for the privilege of conducting insurance within McCracken County. Well, the insurance companies, they're sure going to pass along that cost. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir.
Judge, good to see you. Good to see you with these terms.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys choosing public service. Some of you were elected. Hopefully you stay long enough to fix the problem, but don't stay too long that you forget why you're there to start with. I've got my son in the crowd here. He's been asking me about what's going on. The tax issue is the taxes, like we've heard before. I listened to the whole 2 hours on the phone on the way here. Taxes are enough. You know, we pay property taxes. My son, we wanted to have a chicken, so we went and bought a chicken, paid taxes on the chicken. We bought a coop and paid the taxes on it. We paid taxes on the feed, paid taxes on the water through Paducah Water, because we can't have a well because it's, you know, in the city for one. Then we turn around and want to sell the eggs. He's got to get a business license, and then that's taxed when we turn around and sell the eggs. And then, God forbid, he wanted to sell the manure, and he got taxed on that as well. So, I mean, you've all heard the scenario, getting taxed at both ends. You're also getting ready to generate some revenue that's been long overdue. There's no doubt that the PVA is messed up. You've recognized it, but we don't know what those numbers are yet. So we need to see those numbers come in before you make a decision on this. Like you said, you can freeze some things, you can hold off on that. Once you make a tax, we don't ever see them lifted. Taxes are here, they stay. I have no problem with paying a little bit of tax. Unlike some, I own more than just one property, being a landlord here in Paducah. So my tax bill, my insurance bill in the year gets up there a little bit more than most people. So now, if my math is right, some of the hot water heaters and air conditioners in some of those homes are going to have a hard time getting fixed if I'm having to jump up to about $2,000 in taxes leaving my revenue. So I don't envy the job you've taken on. You predecessors did not leave you in good shape. Who knows? No one's here to lay. I hate the blame game. Problem comes to me, just let's solve it. But before you make a blanket tax on us, I heard one gentleman earlier mention a 1%. Start low. Put it before the people. We bend, but you push us to break in, and then there's no telling what's going to happen because money's tight, and I deal with it on a level with a lot of these people and my tenants. Money's not there. You got people with medical. You got people that don't even have a car, but then some of them do have an insurance policy. Some of them are hoping to leave something to their kids, but then if they can't keep that payment up, then that's going to go away. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for letting us have the opportunity to speak. And first, I'm an old man living on a fixed income. And, we only have so much to go around. But I'd like to address a few of the things you have over here. Number one is the $8.6 million in reserves. Okay, how was that spent? And what have we got to show for it? I know if you've been on the board or on the commissioner for over 4 years, you're looking at some responsibility for your actions. I mean, it's we as taxpayers out here, we just kind of go along with everything that is presented. And the bond rating was reduced to poor financial condition, and it should have been, that shouldn't happen, really. That's, to me, it's kind of a poor leadership somewhere in the past, maybe. But Judge Clymer, I know you're new on board with this, so I have no fault with you. But like I say again, if you've been in there more than 4 years, you need to do some soul searching. And the tax rate is 14% less than it was in 1990. I'm sure that's due to inflation. I don't know. I know over half of my taxes go to the schools. And they are absolutely out there spending like a drunken sailor. It's crazy. They are. I was at one time in my life. I was on the fire board at Concord, and we met each month. One of the things they had there was an excess, a large bank account. It was there, and one month I was talking about the tax increases that would come up, each year. I made the wild suggestion that we reduce the taxes. Well, I was about kicked out of the place. It's that's not what they do. They max it out each year, whatever's available, that they can increase it, they do so. And look at what you're paying for in the county for fire protection, which, I don't know, it's not good. I live in the city, but I'm paying both taxes, and it's really a crazy thing. But I could care less what the other counties are doing. I'm concerned with McCracken. I lived here since 1970, and my one suggestion would be to freeze the hiring and reduce personnel, reduce the cars. Everybody in town has got a car they're driving around. I know the city fire chief has got a Dodge Charger. I don't know what his big rush is to get there. I know he's a fireman, but you want the truck there instead of him. I just noticed things like that, and it's really sad that we've come to this point. I don't think we should have a deficit, but I would like to see what has been presented to us as citizens, and for our money. We used to have to live with a balance sheet, your income minus sales equals your net. And anyway, it's something that concerns me, and I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bruce Reese.
Good evening to the commissioners and to everyone in attendance. I probably will repeat a few things that you've heard here. I am a McCracken County resident since 1968. My husband has lived here all of his 72 years so far. Number one, I just want to say I am against adopting the insurance premium tax ordinance by the fiscal court. I am also against the terminology that is in that ordinance. It seems to be self-serving, and there should be some corrections made. This tax is not a fair tax, as it impacts only a portion of McCracken County residents, those who are responsible and carry insurance on their homes, their cars, their life, so we do not have to be part of the budget for pauper burials. Many residents carry no insurance on vehicles. You read that in the paper all the time under DUIs. No insurance, no insurance. There are state requirements for insurance, but nobody is enforcing them. This goes on into all aspects of government. Many residents carry no insurance on their homes, fire insurance, casualty insurance, because they cannot afford it. So how are they going to afford to pay some of these other taxes on their life insurance? And the life insurance, why is it only going to be taxed the first year? I need an explanation on that. Okay, Mr. Jones has a blog. He states he's in a listening mode, so here it goes. Pension problem is not the match that lit this financial fire, but it did contribute to the bonfire. Fiscal court members, past and present, created the inferno that you're going to be having coming in 2024. The bond situation is out there, and nobody's talking about the big balloon payments that are going to be coming due. And I don't know where you're going to come up with the extra revenue then. Okay. Now you want us, the responsible residents, to bail you out. It's not a fair tax because it's not every McCracken County resident paying for the mistakes of previous fiscal court members. If you have to sell assets, property, sell that property out there on Sheehan Bridge. What's it for? The sports complex? Sell assets. Start cutting down on things that matter. If you watch your pennies and your nickels and your dimes, it will add up eventually. Start making every official that drives the vehicle keep to the speed limit, including deputies, unless they are going to an emergency. This business of seeing a deputy go by me at 70 miles per hour, you're wasting fuel. That's more cost, more expenditures. Now, I have been lax about attending meetings. I have been busy raising a grandson for the last 7 years. But I plan now to be here more often because these are my dollars. I worked 25 years and I contributed, and I've always paid everything the way I'm supposed to. Where are the fiscal court meeting minutes for the public to review? I cannot find them anywhere. I've called the judge executive's office. I was told they were not online anymore. They didn't know where they were. I was to get a phone call back so I could access them. I'm still waiting.
Your time's up, ma'am.
Pardon?
Your time is up.
Okay. I'll be back.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, I'll take you up on this 33 cents a day that you offered yesterday, because that's a lot less than what I'm going to have to be paying.
Yes, sir.
Bruce Reese, I'd like to speak out against this tax. I've heard a lot about what you fellas have figured you're going to need and what the county's going to have, but I hadn't heard anybody. I've read all the articles in the paper and everything. I hadn't heard anybody say anything about the burden. Well, these people tonight, it was the burden that's placed on the taxpayers who I think y'all work for us, right? So, but I hadn't heard anything about that. And, you know, we don't trust our leadership because just like here a while back, the city tried to sell the marshmallow for quite a while, couldn't sell it. The county bought it, and now they pay to move it back and forth. You know, I mean, when you do things like that, it puts us at odds. So anyway, I'd just like to speak against the tax.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
That was my main concern coming up here, was just speaking against this tax. You have people on fixed income in the county. You've had people here talking about you need to balance your budget, watch your spending. My question is, are we paying for this tax? Is this paying for the mistake on the assessor not doing their job right? I own property, I own cars, I've have insurance, and I don't you force us to have auto insurance, and then you turn around and tax us on it. I don't understand that. I pay between the property tax and the business tax. I just don't see where you don't have the money here to cover what you need if you're spending your money right, if you're using it right. I listened to you when you first came into office, Mr. Clymer, and I thought there's a good man. You were explaining to I can't remember what radio station, but you were explaining the situation in the county. And I thought he'll get in there, he'll balance everything, and he'll get this shortage taken care of. I don't think, what are you going to do 2 or 3 years from now? If you're losing the money in 20 years, you've lost almost $9 million. If you're losing that, what are you going to do 4 years from now? Raise our taxes again? Money's tight. And I know it's going to cost me $600 or $700 in these taxes. And I just don't feel it's right. I really don't. I'm not opposed to taking care of these people on the 2 back rows in uniform, but I think you can find the money there to do that. Those are the people I care about. I care about the sheriff's department. It protects me out there in the county. But I don't think you have to do this to take care of it. I think you can find the money. I see all these new vehicles. It's just, I think you can find the money. I really do. Businesses, I can't go out and overspend and raise somebody's taxes to pay for my home. I lose my home. I have to stay within my means. And I guys just need to look closer and see where you can get it from. You really do.
I missed your name. I was trying to keep track of who asked what question. I missed your name.
Dewey Crotchet.
Thank you, sir.
I don't come to these meetings very often, but I thank you for the opportunity. I've been in business for 45 years, and if I don't make it, I lose. I don't have somebody bailing out. I can't go get taxes. I can't get bailed out from somebody. It seems to me that you guys been here for a long time, and it may not be you. I don't know who it is. But this plan you got here is really unreal. It's not right because it's not fair for everybody. I happen to have 4 vehicles. That's going to be ridiculous, paying taxes on the insurance taxes. I have 4 of them. That just doesn't make sense. Not everybody has casualty insurance. Not everybody has fire insurance. Not everybody has life insurance. Not everybody, I don't know what this, all other risk, I don't know what that is. You don't tell me what all other risks are. You don't tell me what that is at all. You say that we're down 14% less in 1990. What was the taxes in 1990? I don't know. I bet it wasn't many people. You're not giving us that information at all. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that you should hold us accountable for poor management. It says right up there, bond rating reduced due to poor financial conditioning. What does that mean? Does that mean you made a lot of mistakes? What does that mean? To me, that means somebody's made some mistakes. That's exactly what it means. And you're saying somebody made mistakes, so you're going to take it out of our pocket, and you never give it back. Even if you get it all settled back, you don't give it back. You never do. And that's not right. Now, I left the city because you guys raised the tax in cities. I moved out in the county because of that. Because it made like $300 a month difference to me by being in the city instead of the county. Now you're going to raise me again? I don't know. I guess I could go to another county. I don't know. But I don't think that's the answer. The answer is here. Come up with a program that everybody pays if you're going to do that. Don't come up and just get the ones that are property owners and responsible people. Everybody pays. Come up with something. The one guy had a really good idea about taxes on electricity. Everybody uses electricity. Or cell phones. Guys, we're giving cell phones away and programs away. The government is, and they're not paying anything. We're paying for that too. This is ridiculous. We have a president now who's trying to cut taxes on us, and we're working in here, and the mistakes you guys have made, you're telling us we got to pay for it. That doesn't seem right. It just does not seem right. If I ran my business like you're running this county, being that kind of debt, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I'd probably be in jail because I couldn't pay the damn bills. This is not right. Don't do this. You're making a mistake. It will backfire on you. This is like pissing in the wind. It's coming back in your face, and it will. Thank you.
Oh, that it? That's everybody. All right. All right. It only works when I try to talk. Okay. We can take. Why don't we break them? I mean, I don't know what's the fair way to do. If you want to start in.
Yeah. Let me address a couple of the issues that were raised. Number one was the number of vehicles in the county, the number of houses in the county. I contacted the clerk's office, and they told me that in McCracken County there are 58,000 vehicles that are registered in the county. And I estimated that 35,000 of those are in the city because about 2/3 of the residents live in the city, so about 35,000 of those are in the city. Also talked to insurance agents, and they said that the average premium ranges from $700 to $800 a month. A year. So if we were to have a 6.9% tax on vehicles, it would raise approximately $1.4 million a year in taxes. In the number of houses, the PVA said there's approximately 21,000 tax bills sent to residents of the county who live outside the city. So the unincorporated areas, there's 21,000 tax bills mailed out to residents outside the city. And there's 13,000 tax bills mailed out in the city. A number of those are exempt from taxes because they're nonprofits or they're government buildings or things like that. I estimated that the 4.9% tax on houses in the county, I think you're right. I was told, I did some research on the internet, the average homeowner's insurance bill is about $1,100 a month. That would raise about $1 million for the county if we were to tax those. And that would be probably a little bit high because, again, not everybody has insurance. And some of those are mobile homes Of those 21,000 in the county, 1,900 were farms, 2,100 were mobile homes, 16,000 were residences, and 412 were exempt. So some of those residents probably don't have insurance on those, and again, 683 were commercial property. So that would raise about $1 million a year in taxes. So the two together would raise a little bit over $2 million. And we need $3 million. Maybe those other taxes are hard to estimate the others. So we have looked into those and made estimates on them. And we've all worked hard to try to come to a way to come to a lower tax, but it's what we need. And I'll address one more issue, then I'll throw it out to others. On what's happened to the surplus. Over the last 10 years, prior to this fiscal court and prior to the last fiscal court, there was a lot of bonding that was done. There were a lot of loans that were made. And the loan payments have been about $1 million a year. And when they did those bond payments, when they did those loans for various projects, they did the loans, but they did not also approve a way to pay for those loans, to pay those loans off. So that took away from the surplus. So about $1 million a year has gone to pay off those loans, and that quickly would deplete the $8 or $9 million we had at one time. Another thing has been a high increase in medical costs, the medical health insurance, and a high increase in the pension funds. And the pension funds are going to go even a lot higher than what they were in the past. Again, the projects that were bonded, they bonded the Murray State University building. That was a major bond project. The bonds are being paid off. Was that a good investment? It would be hard to argue that bringing higher education access to the county was not a good investment. They did at least two other industrial prospects, Genova, Whitehall, and Teletech. They issued bonds for those. They created jobs for people. We could go back now and say, well, maybe some of those weren't the best investments because they aren't not high-paying jobs, but you can't tell the 600 or 700 people who have jobs at those facilities that investment wasn't worth it. So that's where that money went. Those bonds will expire. Some of them don't expire to 2032 or 33. There's a few that expire over the next 10 years, but most of them don't expire over those. I'll address those issues, and I'm sure others will have can address some of the other questions that were brought up. I didn't understand the comment about the marshmallow. What's the marshmallow?
I'll get that one. That's the bubble.
Oh, the bubble. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we can all argue whether. And the county did not buy the bubble. The county did not put any money in to buy the bubble. The city tried to sell it. The city spent the money to buy the bubble. The county did not buy the bubble. And I'd probably sit out there next to you and raise my hands, wonder whether that was a good investment. But anyway, it's said and done, but that's not a county investment. And one more thing, the Sheehan Bridge property, that was purchased by the city. The county did not agree to that when they were talking about putting a recreation complex out there. The city bought it, and they held it for 5 or 6 years, and they later sold it. So that wasn't a county investment on that. That was a city investment.
Mr. Parker,
Sure, I'll take a couple of them. Mr. Doris, you're talking about flat rates, and that was the first thing we looked into, and the state will not allow us to assess flat rate on electric, cell phones, or anything like that. So that was a grand idea, and we thought we had one there, but it won't work. The property on Shin Bridge we don't own. We don't have anything to do with the marshmallow. Mr. Crockett, we are paying for mistakes of past courts. This is a new court. We inherited a lot of this. I know some of you went back several years and asked questions. When we took office, the first thing we done was an audit and found out we were broke. Prior to that, 2 years prior to that, there had not been an audit, which actually went against the law, but we're stuck with it. We're stuck with fixing it. The biggest problem we have, no matter what we do, if we sit idle and we just cut back, and just like we done in this last year, no paving, no anything, don't write any checks, We're not gonna take care of the guys in uniform. They're, most of them making $10,000-$15,000 a year less than their city counterparts. We're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna hold tight. We still have to come up with $3 million over the next 4 to 4.5 years to take care of what the state is pushing on us as far as a pension crisis. We're on the hook for it. We have to pay it. It's not got anything to do with anything that's done here recently. There's a lot of it several years old, but we're going to pay it. We have to come up with it. So we're going to be upside down. We're running $900,000 this year in the red. We're going to cut. We cut 5% across the board last year. We're going to cut this year. We're going to be frugal. I had a couple buddies of mine called and said I was coming to speak, but I'm not, because I went through what you guys have done in the last year, and you haven't wasted any money. These guys up here are not going to waste money. So I'll be around afterwards to answer any more questions, but I'll go ahead and I think Mr. Jones has got your list, Doc, so he's going to address yours.
Okay, thank you all for coming. So, Dr. Thomas, I did make some notes during, is it Thomas? Dr. Thomas? So you're looking at June and some of those financials, and sometimes it is hard to know the reserve fund when you're looking at the financials, because included in the financials are sometimes some other money that might look like it's available for use to run the day-to-day operations of the county, and what I learned after elected is not. For example, we collect the transient room tax for both the city and the county, convention center, and those entities. That money ends up being passed through, but there's almost always about $1 million in our statements that belongs to the transient room fund. And by statute, and that's what I've been kind of saying, those are buckets. We're talking about the barrel's empty. We've got some buckets, and the transient room tax bucket, it does have money. But by law, we're not allowed to go out and get the bucket and pour it in the barrel. That's against the law. So that money has to be there. There's also some money in the account that is designated for economic development. It's the result of a CBDG. I mess it up every time I say it, grant. And that money is sitting there in reserve, and it has to be used for economic development that will actually promote moderate income growth. So you got to remember to back those things out. For me, when I was looking at the analysis of the money, the best month to look at wasn't June, which is when the auditor ends up looking, because our year is June to July. He'll look at June 30th. The scariest month to look at is October, and the reason it's the scariest month is because it's right before you get your property tax bill, and that's when we've been waiting for, I guess, I say we, the county government's been waiting for those bills to go out in order to, I guess, put all that money in the bank. So if you looked at our bank account right now, we'd look pretty good, because all those bills have been paid for the property tax. But October is the scariest month. That's the leanest month. In October of 2011, there was $5.7 million in the reserve fund. In October of 2018, which is the October just before this court took office, there was $763,000 in the reserve fund. So it's a reduction of basically $5 million. I think Commissioner Bartleman touched on where did that go. And from 2011 to 2013, the county borrowed $16.5 million. Included in that was $10 million from Murray State University. But as Judge Clymers told you, there was never any increase. The occupational tax, which is a 1% cap, can't be raised. It's been steadily going down. It stays around $6 million, but it's trending down. And why is it trending down? Because it trends down because the city also can charge that occupational tax. And as development gets close to the city and as the city grows, they'll quickly annex an employer. And so we don't see growth in occupational tax because, if it happens close to the city, you can expect it's probably going to get annexed soon. And they're going to charge a 2% tax, and we don't get a share of that. Sometimes we do in revenue sharing agreements, but oftentimes we don't. But in any event, it's certainly not trending up. So when they borrowed the money, they added about $1.3 million in annual debt service for the $16.5 million. Well, that's where, that's the answer. Yeah, where did it go? I suspect that court anticipated, planned to start raising property tax, but an election happened and they didn't. What they should have done is raise property taxes 5 years in a row. You could only raise property taxes 4%. That's about $160,000 a year. Had they raised it 5 years in a row, there'd be an extra $1 million of income coming in to make those debt services, but they didn't do it. In fact, sometimes they would just take the compensating rate, which would actually send the rate back down if the values went up. I hope that can shed some light on some of your questions. I think Jeff has answered. Cell phone, electric bill sounds like a great answer, except that it's against the law and we're not allowed to do that. Somebody commented about the language of the ordinance. It might not surprise you that there's 42 other counties that have done this. We're using the similar form. We didn't create that language just exactly like that. We're picking and selecting our own individual rates, but the actual language of the form has been provided to us by Department of Local Government. Life insurance, the tax on the first year, I think Ms. Stokes, you asked about that. That's by state statute. It says in the statute that's the only year you can charge it. Minutes from past meetings, we'll look into that.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
Okay, we have all fiscal court minutes back to 1825. Anytime you'd like to come down and look at them, we'll dig out the books and you can read them.
Why aren't they online like all the other counties?
We don't scan them in and put them online.
Well, there's a lot of difference between back in the 1800s it is now.
It is, but I'm just saying, we had to look something back up into 1825, but I have all the current court meetings.
We need to stop thinking about that.
Well, maybe we could hire somebody to take some of that money and have them scan those minutes in from 1825 on forward.
Probably to scan one in, it would probably take 60 to 70 pages to scan all the documents that go in with one.
Yeah, and I'd say
a meeting.
If there end up being a number of residents who want to see minutes like that on a repetitive basis, I think we could probably accommodate that.
And I got one more thing I'm going to say now, say more. The other day I was out there coming up the highway. There was a county truck. One driver, 6 behind it, and shoveling out, putting it in a pothole. Okay, that $25 an hour or whatever he's making, if I was a boss, I'd say, hey, we don't need a driver. We need 2 men back on the back. The rest of you find you something else to do. That's what they used to tell me when I worked.
Sure. Well, next time you see that, call somebody.
Call Judge Clymer.
Call Judge Clymer.
Yes, sir. No, they'd have to join or be really close and almost connected in some way. That's just where our state law set up. They can actually take that business in, and they offer them incentives. They actually buy them into the city, is what they end up doing. So, and then we not collect that tax.
I'm sorry, what's your question? Counties do not have legal standing to oppose a city's annexation. So legal standing meaning we would not, if we were to file some action opposing that, the circuit judge would dismiss it because we don't have standing. There's a whole set of laws on annexation, and there's a separate annexation statute for an industry or employer as opposed to a resident.
The county filed a suit several years ago on an annexation where the city just went in and they annexed down the road, just the highway, and then they went in and annexed a piece of property. The city had filed a lawsuit about that, but it was thrown out because the county had no. The county filed the lawsuit opposing that, but the county had no standing, and we lost the lawsuit. It was thrown out.
If you have interest in that, I'd be happy to share that case with you. rarely find anybody that is fascinated in that topic or interested in that topic, and so it'd be fun to have somebody to talk to about it. But it is disappointing how the law of annexation has evolved. It has evolved very much in favor of city government and to the detriment of county government.
Why can you raise taxes without being voted on? How can the government come in, any government, raise taxes without being voted on? Where do they get that power?
So if we were to raise property taxes more than 4%, we would be required to put that on the ballot.
Put them out. Any taxes. It doesn't seem right. That does not seem right to me. I don't understand how that happened. Yeah. Nobody asked me if I wanted to pay taxes on my life insurance policy. Nobody. I don't want to pay more taxes. As I get older, life insurance policy is almost incredible anyway. I'm 76 years old. Are you kidding me? I can't afford life insurance.
Yeah,
I stopped because I couldn't afford it. Now you want taxes if I can find something? You're great.
Yeah. Well,
if you were my age, you wouldn't want to do it either.
How old are you?
76.
Well, here's the thing, sir. You elect folks to represent you and believing that they will do what's best for the county. I'm confident that we are trying to do that and that we've looked at all these things. The sort of umbrella that we work under is that the state of Kentucky, Commonwealth of Kentucky, has created in the counties the right to do certain things, but only what they let us do. We have a thing called home rule where we can make certain decisions. Many things we cannot. One thing we cannot do is do any kind of a sales tax, which some people the other day recommended, well, why not just tax a small amount on products or consumables, consumption tax. State doesn't allow us to do that. And so we work within how much reign the state gives us to control this county. And so many of the things that can't be done. One gentleman was talking about can't afford the tax, and he lives in the city. If you live in the city, you won't pay this tax. You'll pay the city's tax, and they're 7%. We're averaging at 5.1 roughly. There was also, and I guess I'll give it back to you guys here in a minute, but I lost my thought. But I guess the main point being that insurance tax, we've looked at that. I tend to agree with you. A lot of people don't pay insurance. Some people pay, have a lot of property. They have a lot of different insurances on different things. And it's not the best way to tax. We don't have any option. The cell phones are already taxed, and the county gets a small portion of that by state statute. We're under a pretty tight rein on that. It's sort of like you oversee when your children are small. They're kind of like a child of the state. They've created us, give us certain things we can and can't do. We try to do things that we can't do. We get in trouble. I think pretty consistently what we've heard from people is that they see that while we're in the condition that we're in, the thought that, well, just cut spending, just tighten the belt. I don't know if I had it on here. We're 25 people short, less in county employment than we were. Was it 10 years ago? 10 years ago. So there's been cuts, and it was before this administration, this court, and so that was one of the things that was done. The previous courts recognized. I personally don't think. I think maybe some of those positions should not have been cut, but positions were cut, 25 over the last 10 years, in order to not drive this deficit any further. than it is. And so that's sort of where we are. The best, and you do have a good point, that we can't tell, and the insurance folks in Frankfurt can't tell us, the people that oversee the insurance, and the insurance companies can't tell us how much revenue this proposal is going to create. We know roughly how much we need. I think we're confident, in my mind at least, that we're not going to create as much as we need even over a couple of year period. But the best we can do, and if you think about it just a minute, each one of you in here, you have different amounts of insurance, anywhere from 0 on everything, you don't have insurance, up to some of you have a lot of home insurance, some of you have small, you value, your houses are valued at different amounts, you cover a certain percentage. Everybody has different levels of insurance, so it's virtually impossible to sit down with a calculator and say, okay, because there's 25,000 homes, and make that math work to tell us what it will come out to, except that we have these comparable counties, and the ones who have a similar number of homes, similar number of population, and they tax at a higher rate than we do, we see that they produce from that rate, also have a higher property tax, by the way, but we see what they produce, and that kind of gives us a ballpark, spitball kind of idea of what we think it will do. And we won't know until, and we won't collect any of this until October of this year. And so at that time, when it starts coming in, we will see, given each home, each car, each property. So in the first year, we should know what it produces. And that'll vary some year to year, but probably very little. And so that's why we can't say this is what this is going to produce. The other thing we do is, Commissioner Jones said, we collect a lot of tax from people that comes from through the Sheriff's Department is charged with collecting tax. We get a very small percentage of the tax that's collected. Somebody talked about the school system has really nice stuff. They collect, what is it, like 5 times what
55%.
55%.
Compared to our 10%.
Yeah. So they get 55% of the overall tax. Your entire county gets 10%. And so, we're running the whole county. There's a lot of expenses. I'm not criticizing the school. That's the way it is. And we really have no control over that. Those folks run the schools, and so we're elected to run the county. I know these 3 gentlemen up here. I know myself. I know that we're trying to do best we can with what we have to work with. You don't know us. Some of you, maybe you do, but all I can say is I hope, I know you don't like tax, and I know, and I tend to agree with you, insurance is not the best way to do, but we have no other recourse. Our only other thing really is to increase property tax, and we can't do that more than 4% a year, and we'll just keep sinking at 4% a year. So I hope that you can understand that we need to do this. I believe we're going to vote to do this, and we just got to have the revenue to run this county properly. Somebody asked, well, I don't understand the young man about to get his driver's license. I don't understand why you even need any tax or any more tax, maybe, I guess is what he's saying. But the county provides a lot of essential services, and really only essential services. The educating your children, the fire protection. We talked about fire department. Somebody mentioned something about the fire department. The majority of our fire departments are unpaid volunteers, and so those folks are putting in their own time away from their families, friends, their whatever. They're ready to go when they're called. They train. All we do, we provide them the equipment, a facility to operate out of. Our parks, most of the parks are operated with some help from us by parents, volunteers. You start figuring that, we do have a system where we're pretty skinny, we're pretty frugal in that we have all these volunteers providing all these services, and a lot of communities don't. They're paying those people, and maybe that's why some of these things are what they are, the other comparable counties. I kind of cut you off. Did you have more?
Well, I just had a few. Number one, I feel sorry for Troop 1. They picked the wrong night to come, I guess. We're trying to make this more exciting.
Or maybe the right night.
Right, or maybe pick the right night, you're saying. Let me make just a few points. I want, Dr. Thomas, I don't want to blame completely Murray State. In that same 7 years from 2011 2008, consider also that health insurance to the county costs went up $600,000, $618,000. Cost of county pensions went up $470,000, and the cost of 911 funding an average of $500,000. It used to be the landline would pay that, and it's not covering anymore because people are canceling their landlines. I wanted to comment about Danny Smith not seeing the point. I guess I've offered this scenario at the last meeting. Some of you were there. I'm sorry if you have to hear it twice. I want you to consider the person who lives in the county and works in the city or works in Ballard County. They live in a $250,000 home. And just think for a minute, well, what are they paying in county tax? And typically what you would pay is if you have a $250,000 home, you're going to pay 10% or 1%. You're going to write a check once a year for $2,500 down to the sheriff. And then what happens with that $2,500? Well, it gets spread out. There's the library gets a part of it, the school system gets a part of it, the health department gets a part of it, but your county government gets 10% of that. So for that person who's living in a $250,000 home, either doesn't work because they're retired or doesn't work because they don't need to, or works someplace other than the county, could work in the city. What they pay for county government is $250. And what do you get for that $250? Well, you get the security that tonight when you go home, there's a jail with maybe not 600 inmates per day, but sometimes there's 600 inmates. They're going to be safe, and you're going to be safe because they're going to be where they're supposed to be, and you're going to get to be where you're going to be. You also get security that there's a dog warden, and there's a lot of cute puppies out there, the dog wardens, and we see those on TV. But there's also about 50 puppies you don't want in your backyard. Those aren't in your backyard for that $250. You get the security that if tonight you need emergency services, you can hit 3 buttons, 911, and there'll be somebody that answers that phone, and you get the security that Matt Carter's got trained deputies, 25 road deputies, in addition to about 50 employees that will be there to respond to your emergency. And you get all that for less than $1 a day. I'm not trying to sell you that we're a great county government, but frankly, we are a great county government. I'm sorry, we're broke. And I promise you, when a year ago, or 2 years ago, when we decided to run, I wanted to build a better fence at Carson Park and put a bathroom on a soccer field. I didn't want to have to be here on a night like tonight. And I'm sorry that I have to be, but I'm going to do what we have to do for a community good.
So you guys are putting a freeze on hiring, like the county, the police and everything like that due to the situation, or what's the deal on that with this situation? How does it affect our current officers that are protecting us?
So your question is, are we putting a freeze on that?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't
but
know how you
just out of curiosity, because you're talking about the safety of your residents. I'm new to McCracken, this area from California, but now I'm an official resident myself. So, and my son wants to be an officer. He's 14. He's in Troop 1. I'm looking far advanced in your guys' budget. I mean, is it going to affect our officers later on down the line?
It certainly will if we don't do something. I can tell you that if we do nothing, we just simply stay on the same course, there's a mathematical certainty that this county runs out of money in September of 2022. And so we've got to do something to change that course, or we hit an iceberg and we start to sink. And so I think by taking this step tonight, we're protecting the future security of our county.
Why don't you let them do just a one-time tax, and then wherever you get, you have to work with that, go within budget. I think people can work with that. Like, you know, if you get in debt, you just pay it off, and then you have to.
Well, we do kind of have to live within the confines of what the state allows us to do, and I don't think we can give everyone a use. I think what you're suggesting is a big one-time user fee, and I don't think the law allows us to do that. One thing I did, somebody asked why tax automobiles. That's the one thing I got to buy, and I guess I feel a little better about that tax because if you remember how we felt when we found some people weren't on the property roll and they were omitted, and you're like, well, how come they didn't have to pay? And I guess one of the advantages by taxing automobiles, and if you'll notice, we're taxing it at 6.9 and the house at 4.9, and we're doing that on purpose with a theory, and that is because we know that we want to paint a broad stroke or broad stroke with a paintbrush of being able to ask everybody to try and pay toward county government. And there are some people that own a car but don't own a house. Most people that own a house own a car. And so that's why the car insurance is a little higher. I've become particularly sensitive about whether there are some people that really won't be able to pay that additional car insurance. But I guess we're trying to give the discount back to the person who's got the house because we know they're already paying the car insurance. That's.
I think the luxury tax is unfair anyway. When you buy that, you pay a tax on it. You shouldn't have to keep on paying it. That's a very unfair tax.
Which is?
A luxury tax. And when you buy a vehicle, you pay a tax on it. Yeah. You shouldn't have to pay that every year. It goes
to the state.
On that vehicle.
Don't you live in the city, man?
I do.
You won't pay this tax at all.
Yeah, you're already paying 7%.
You know, I'm listening
that seems fair.
And it sounds like the county is losing out on a lot of things because this rule and that rule in this city and that and what's happening in Frankfurt. Are you gentlemen been voted in to get some rules changed so the county can get more of what they should get and what they should be expensed out to us to cover it, to cover our police and our sheriff and our fire people and us? I mean, why is it that you, as representatives of the county, aren't stepping in and stepping up to change things so that we can get more of income that's all around us, that the city can come and take any time it wants to? Just doesn't seem real and right.
We're working hard and feverishly at that, ma'am. We've been here 1 year, and we.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Trust me, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're throwing our heels up and saying, hey, we're not doing that anymore. We're done with that. We're going to fix the problem. Commissioner Jones is an attorney. I think a month ago you spent a couple of weeks in Frankfurt and Lexington and.
Don't tell my boss I spent a couple of weeks up there. I spent 2 days.
But he spent a lot of time.
And I've only told him about one.
Yeah, but he was working on some things like that. So
you know, there's two scenarios that scare me, and I like. Number one is there was a discussion about the airport terminal grant, and that's real. I mean, the possibility that we're being considered for an airport terminal grant is real, but it comes with a matching out obligation. And whether you like EA service or not, frankly, if the federal government wants to invest $20 million into our economy, I'm ready to sign up for it. I don't care if it's an airport or a hair salon. Whatever we've got to do to match to get the federal government to spend $20 million, I'm for that. I think personally, protecting the Barkley Airport position from a hostile takeover, and I promise you there are other communities that would like to have that EA service. It's an essential air service, and it is a subsidy, and it does make that flight to Chicago cheaper, and it does pay for the vacant seats, all that. But I promise you, Bowling Green will take it, Orangeburg will take it. They don't have it. And if we want to keep it, we better be ready to borrow some money, frankly, because they're going to expect a $5 million. If it's a $20 million grant, they're expecting a $5 million match. And it scares me that this community could have that opportunity but not have the ability to participate in it because we frankly have spent our reserve. It also scares me that at the same time, or at near the same time, I mean, we've got the people who came before us have put together 400 to 500 great acres out by the river, right by the triple rail site. It is positioned well. It's known across the nation. Something good will happen there. But when that does happen, this county needs to be positioned to be able to give an incentive to help make it happen, because it won't happen without an incentive. And so that scenario scares me, is that we look at all those good things, need to be in a position to do the right thing, and won't be in a position to do the right thing. And if we take this step tonight, I think we'll fix both of those scenarios.
But what you're saying, though, you want to spend all of these millions, so that means pretty soon you're going to be coming back to us again for these millions of dollars that we have to match.
So your county is $18 million in debt now. Over time, that debt will go down. We've got bonding capacity. Do I want to just spend millions of dollars frivolously? Of course not. But if the federal government says, hey, McCracken County, we'll put $20 million into your airport, do you want me to tell them no? I mean, raise your hand if you don't want that.
Does that airport generate more jobs for the local city?
The construction of the airport will generate more jobs.
We've got, you got something you want to say?
Yeah.
Commissioner Barlow wanted to, and I don't know if you guys want to say anything else, but we opened this up at the beginning, giving everybody an opportunity to speak, and now we've kind of gotten into sporadic back and forth, and we still haven't done any business. But
let me say, I've spent a lot of time on this, and I put together a statement I wanted to read tonight, and I apologize for reading it, but I wanted to make sure I was at least half coherent on it. When this fiscal court was elected, I told people we were going to be the why fiscal court. We weren't going to take things for granted or just accept the status quo or that actions and policies of the past were right for the future. As a former newspaper reporter, I really liked the new philosophy of asking why and why not. And we lived up to that prediction. Asking why has resulted in some positive changes that will benefit the residents. In just 1 year, we asked why our economic development efforts had not been as successful as we'd like. We worked with the Greater Paducah Economic Development Board to make major changes that have brought about renewed accountability and oversight, and most importantly, optimism that we can finally be successful in attracting good-paying, career-sustaining jobs. We asked why we didn't have a modern athletic complex, something that's been demanded and wanted by residents of this community for the last 20 or 25 years. With the leadership of Commissioner Jones, we created a sports commission that over the next few years will result in development of a long-demanded tournament-quality baseball, softball, and soccer fields, volleyball and basketball courts, and opportunities for other recreation activities. And it will be done without costing a dime of taxpayer money, of county taxpayer money. I repeat that, not a penny from this tax increase or anything that's in the budget now will be used to fund those. It will be funded by a transient room tax paid by visitors and tourists who use our hotels. That's the bucket that Commissioner Jones talked about. It's the only thing it can be used for is things to attract people to the community. In addition to providing opportunities for our youth, it will allow our community to finally become a major destination for youth and adult sports that will help fuel the local economy and create jobs. We've also put the convention center on a sound financial footing, again without allocating a single penny of county funds, but also using funds generated by the transient room tax. It will allow the convention center to excel in attracting meetings, conventions, concerts, and shows to make Paducah a high-profile destination, while at the same time providing entertainment, educational, and recreational opportunities for all of us. And it also will help fuel the economy. We asked why we sometimes feel we're ignored by state and federal government, so we increased our presence and image in Frankfort and Washington by not only attending high-profile visits sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, but by being actively involved in organizations like the Kentucky Commissioners and County Judges Association, the Kentucky Association of County Officials, and the National Association of County Officials. We're serving on committees of those organizations that give us input in deciding priorities at both the state and national level. Judge Clymer, with the approval of the Fiscal Court, has put together a highly qualified staff of professionals who not only understand the needs of the community, but know how to wade through the complexities of government bureaucracy. One of those is an experienced professional whose main duty is searching for grants that will provide financial benefits from projects and programs that the county could not otherwise afford. It's a position that's been talked about for years, but was only recently filled. Along with what we have done as a fiscal court, other elected officials, the jailer, the sheriff, the clerk, the coroner, the county attorney, and the property valuation administrator have stepped up to the plate to ask why, and they have made changes to make their operations more efficient and improve the services for the citizens of McCracken County. Now we're facing what is our greatest test, finding a way to pay not only for basic services that citizens want and expect, but to improve the county's financial health to be competitive and meet 21st century challenges. Like other members of the Fiscal Court, I've spent many hours going over the budget, past spending priorities, current needs, and future needs. The bottom line assessment is that to even maintain the status quo, we have to raise more revenue. It's been well documented we are now facing massive increases in pension costs, higher health care costs, higher cost to operate 911, the need to pay our employees, especially in the jail, a fair wage, and to pay deficits to operate the jail, and to meet the annual debt requirement obligations of nearly $1 million. Judge Clymer echoed the feelings of all of us when he said, we don't like increasing taxes and you and we don't like paying them. But we have no choice. There are no additional places to cut. As he mentioned, we've already cut 25 positions, and we're down to the bone on those. We've limited options on sources for revenue, and all of us here agree a tax on insurance premiums is the only option. We wish we had other options, but the legislature has not given the cities and counties the opportunity to do that, or counties the opportunity to do that. You know, it might be a better option to just raise the payroll tax, but we can't do that. It's limited at 1%. We can't increase that. So we have no other options. And Commissioner Jones and I and others have been working and talking to officials in Frankfort, trying to get them to make changes to increase options in a way we can raise revenue. It's an option that's used by 42 counties, and more than 400 cities have an insurance tax. And the number is growing because the counties are facing the same financial problems we are facing. I talked to the official in Frankfort who's in charge in the insurance cabinet, and he said he's getting calls every day, and 2 or 3 other counties have already imposed a tax starting in July, and more cities are imposing the tax. All of us appreciate the input from residents at this meeting, at a meeting last week, and phone calls, emails, text messages, and in the aisles of Walmart. I haven't gone to Walmart in the last 2 weeks that I haven't had a conversation about taxes, and I don't mind that. I'm going to address so. There's one common theme in a majority of the comments. We need to create new jobs to increase our tax base. That's correct. To create jobs, we must work closely with the city, the state, the Economic Development Board, PACRO, and federal government agencies, and we need to be prepared to offer our share of incentives to be successful in creating new industry. It's counterproductive to recruit a new industry to consider our community and then tell them we don't have the funds to provide land, build an access road, provide job training, or expand utilities. We also need to worry about our bond rating. As we assess industries coming into town, their financial well-being, industries assess the financial well-being of a county. If they see a county or a city that's on the decline in their credit ratings, they're going to have questions about whether they want to make a large investment in those communities. I've struggled to crunch numbers to justify the tax rate and try to find a way to suggest lower tax rates. While it's difficult to predict the exact revenue, I've made estimates based on average insurance premiums and the number of registered vehicles in the county and the number of residents and commercial properties. At the current proposed rate, the tax would raise about $3 million a year, and some may disagree with that. It could be, some think it would be lower, but my estimates were it would be about $3 million a year. And that's the minimum amount we need to balance the budget and meet our needs. Could we survive with less? Yeah, we could for a year or two, but then we'd be facing the same financial challenges and facing even higher tax fees. AT&T has a commercial on television that says just okay is not okay. Like we have on other issues, the members of this fiscal court have asked, why is it just okay to continue on the same path? And our answer is clear. It's not just okay. When you take your car to the mechanic to be repaired, if you hire a plumber or buy a new refrigerator, just okay is not enough. You want the best. And we want the best for McCracken County, and we hope you want the best for McCracken County. A retired plant manager tells the story of a conversation he had with a man at a conference he attended in Canada. The man said he had been to Paducah in the mid-1970s and never saw a community with such great potential. He asked the plant manager how Paducah was doing, and his answer was, well, we still have great potential. If we want McCracken County to grow and prosper, we have to put our financial house in order and strive for the best we can be to tap that potential. We must be visionary, and we must be prepared to improve on the already high quality of life that we enjoy. We need to continue the momentum we've started with improvements in the economic development, improvements in recreation, and the administration of county government. President Harry Truman said, there is some risk involved in action. There always is, but there's even more risk in failure to act. We are doing what we have. We have the political courage to act rather than failing to act and continue to stymie the potential of McCracken County. McCracken County is a vibrant community, and we need to really build on it and continue to build. We can't afford to defer actions and kick the can down the road. It's time to pick up the can and take action.
All right, we're going.
I'm sorry, sir. I did have a question before he gave us this explanation and everything. I really would like to ask it because it is an option. You said we had no other options. May I ask you, sir, please?
All right. Then we're going to take a recess.
Okay. Said a flat rate is not allowed. It's not allowed. Okay. However, is a percentage allowed? And if so, any info on amount that Paducah Power and Atmos Energy has, say, per year, how much is brought in, and maybe tax it at 0.5% or 1%.
You're talking utilities?
Yes, sir.
So the school system can charge a utility tax, but county government is not allowed by statute to charge a utility tax.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a 15-minute recess until 15 minutes from now. 5 till. Then we'll come back. We're going to need to start on our business. You're welcome to stay around. We're going to vote on this action after a little bit. We'll break for 15 minutes. please, and we'll start through with the agenda, starting with the item 1, the consent agenda.
It is ordered to approve the consent agenda for February the 10th, 2020, McCracken County Fiscal Court.
So made.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Budget transfers.
It is ordered that the necessary cash transfers in the amount of $150,000 be made in order to pay county bills and payroll approved February 10th, 2020.
So made.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries. Accounts payable.
It is ordered to approve the vouchers claim register from January 27th, 2020 to February 10th, 2020 to show county bills in the amount of $458,571.42 were paid.
So made.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. See, we had an item on discussion. I just wanted to make the commissioners aware and our law enforcement folks and our coroner and the other first responders. We got a letter, a very complimentary letter from the National Transportation Safety Board, Brian Rayner, senior investigator, that says in part, referencing a incident that occurred under the purview of the National Transportation Safety Board here in McCracken County. Thank you for the on-scene and follow-up support that we received from Sheriff Matt Carter, Coroner Amanda Melton, and the other members of your first responder team with regards to our investigation, the immediate response, the support from your staff, as well as the hospitality and assistance from your officers and staff members was exemplary. Goes on, but I congratulate you on the professionalism and dedication of your entire team. I think that included our emergency management people and some of our fire department personnel as well. So it's nice to hear from on high that what we already know is that our first responders are top-notch and doing a tremendous job. Let's see. We believe we were in agreement to let the old business that was tabled to remain on the table. There's, let's see, Court Order A.
Okay. It is ordered to pay Energy Systems Group LLC invoice number 917 in the amount of $13,551.68 for the measurement and verification Year 3 in accordance with the support services agreement Exhibit C, which we will have on file.
So made.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
You tell me if there's any discussion on these things, well, otherwise we'll just roll. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. B.
It is ordered to approve the January transient room tax in the amount of $272,616.10 to be dispersed as follows. Paducah CVB, $81,439.21. Convention Center, $54,345.11. Sports Tourism Commission, $81,590.72. And Escrow Fund, $55,241.06.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. C.
It is ordered that the amount of $533.75 be paid to the McCracken County Attorney as the county's portion of the expert witness expenses necessary to approximate defending the 2 lawsuits filed by Walgreens. The county attorney has advised that said funds will be placed in the IOLTA trust account maintained by McCracken County Attorney's Office until used for this purpose.
So made.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Board appointments.
It is ordered that Richard Frank Cloyd is appointed to the Senior Citizens Board to fulfill the term of Melinda Watson, who recently resigned, and which term expires on June 30th, 2021.
So made.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Ordinances.
Okay.
It is ordered that the second reading of Ordinance 2020-1 imposing an insurance premium tax upon insurance companies for the privilege of conducting insurance business with McCracken County, Kentucky is adopted. An ordinance imposing an insurance premium tax upon insurance companies for the privilege of conducting insurance business within McCracken County, Kentucky. The action taken in the present ordinance is authorized by KRS 91A.080 and operates to create a tax on the premiums received by insurance companies doing business in McCracken County as follows. A, casualty, 4.9%. B, automobile, 6.9%. C, inland marine, 4.9%. D, fire and allied perils, 4.9%. E, health, none. F, life, 6.9%. G, all other risk, 4.9%. The imposition of this tax is a direct result of financial circumstances originating and precipitating prior to the composition of the present McCracken County Fiscal Court, as well as the extraordinary and ongoing financial burden placed upon McCracken County due to the Commonwealth of Kentucky pension crisis. Creation of a new stream of governmental revenue is a critical component of the commitment of the present McCracken County Fiscal Court to meet all immediate and subsequent financial obligations of the county without resorting to significant budgetary and personnel reconfigurations that would degrade the quality and quantity of essential county government services that the citizens depend upon, including but not limited to emergency response services, road maintenance, infrastructure repair, and improvements, various services provided in conjunction with other governmental and non-governmental partners. It is certified that the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate and official statement of the main points of the Ordinance 2020-01.
All right. And any discussion?
Yes, you need a
Further
motion.
I need a motion.
So moved.
A second? Got
Can
a
I-
second? Any
Yeah.
discussion?
Can we add something to this at this point, or is it?
What?
Well, I know that, I mean, I'd like to add something to it to say that it'll be revisited at the same time every year, Mr. Doolittle?
Well, you can only change it once a year.
That's in,
You have to do, any changes have to be submitted to the insurance commissioner 100 days in advance of July 1. So typically by mid-March.
so if we add a clause in here to say that this rate will be set the first or second meeting of February, is that?
Let me ask a procedural question. Would we be better off to approve this as is, then approve another motion?
That's what I was asking.
I don't think we need to muddy this up with that.
Okay,
It might
well, let's not
cause
do it
confusion
then.
at the state level.
All right, well,
This is what we need to do for the state.
Okay, and then we'll do that next.
If we want to do a separate one for.
Well, and then of course, as a practical matter, we're addressing a budget for the next fiscal year now, and so in the sense of looking at this, we look at revenue and we'll look at our expenditures, what we need to be doing, and I mean, inherent in the process of a budget is comparing revenue to expenditures and projects that we might need to do and all that. So really, there's just underlying inherent review of everything, but particularly I think we'd be sensitive to this because this is a new source of revenue that we're creating.
I'm good. I mean, let's go ahead and vote on this, and then we can set that in motion. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. It carries unanimously. All right, another ordinance.
It is ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the public reading of ordinance number 2020-02 be conducted in the summary format as follows. An ordinance amending McCracken County's ordinance number 2019-04 by making revisions to the proposed fiscal year 2019-2020 operating budget by the modification of allocations pertaining to line items general jail, sheriff, transient room, tax, debt service payments, transfers from other funds in strict compliance with the mandates of the Kentucky Revised Statutes in Chapter 68. The present ordinance makes revisions to the Ordinance 2019-4 McCracken County Proposed Fiscal Court Year 2019-2020 operating budget pertaining to increases and decreases in receipts related to the general, jail, sheriff, and transient room and debt funds.
So made.
Second.
Now, is this, did you read the certification? And
It's certified, it is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points and its components of Ordinance 2020-02 and 2020-02 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's office during ordinary business hours.
This is just a routine
Just
to
budget
reflect
amendment.
what's accurately going to be in the spending, is that right?
It's really the revenue side that we're amending.
We're just updating it to be accurately reflect.
So this is going to give us new categories?
No, not new categories. This is our current budget, 2020, so we are adjusting. We had to adjust for transient room tax revenue that went up. We had to adjust for that. We made some adjustments to debt service from outside agencies. We had to adjust for state prisoners. We had to adjust that number down. That was overstated.
Because we're not generating as much income as we thought.
That is correct.
So we're funding the state prisoner reduction by transferring just out of the general fund, is that right?
Yes, because there's no other
So that really
place to take it from.
exasperates the problem we have. It's another 1.2 million.
So we're increasing the deficit because we have to. Yeah.
did we get a motion? I mean,
Yes,
motion
yes.
second.
We got a motion,
Okay.
second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. And then we have a resolution.
It is ordered that a resolution adopting and approving the execution of a County Road Aid Cooperative Program Agreement between the Fiscal Court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Department for Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 be approved.
So made.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. We do have a need for a very, I think it should be a very brief executive session. And then when we come out, we're not going to take any action based on that. So we'll just...
When we go over, I'd like to make a motion that we put, that we're going to, that us or any other fiscal court in the future will vote in February on what set these tax rates at.
Okay. What you're talking about,
the insurance tax, I'd like for it to be voted, the rate set every year in February. Is that right?
The law doesn't require you to do that. The law-
So it won't require us to just say we're going to do this again, or it'll make us reset each rate.
It will reset unless you elect to change it. Like any ordinance, like any budget, if you want to change it, you have to complete that work by the middle of March.
What if we were to, would it be better to put something in the administrative code that says we'll review the insurance rates annually in January or February?
Well,
Is that a good place to put it?
Couple things. I don't know that we're going to learn that much by February because we will have 2 quarters of experience. Will every quarter be the same? I don't know. We won't know for a good year. The second thing is where we will do those reviews typically are at budget time, right? So again, when we need prompt tax, when we need it's that process of between March and June every year for those things always do get.
I just want to make sure we're transparent on this, and you know, I mean, we've asked for the mercy of the people are the people that pay the taxes, and you know, I want to make sure we're transparent on it. If by some reason it goes out there and jumps up quite a bit of money, then maybe we cut it back. If it doesn't, then maybe we add to it. I mean, I don't know. I just want to make sure we look at it every year.
Like anything, we can look at anything at any point in time of the year. So if say this court wants a report on the revenue coming from this, of course we still report monthly to you guys, but if we want to make a special point of it on an annual basis, we can certainly do that.
I'd like to. I want to make sure it doesn't fall through the cracks with it having a set date. It's got to be into the insurance commissioner back.
I think the place to do that is in the administrative code. In fact, you know, by law, we have to do the administrative code once a year too. Maybe that's the time we do it because it's at the end of the budget and we know what the last budget looked like.
The administrative code already directs you to make an annual examination of your revenues and expenses.
But what month do we do the administrative code in then? I just want to make sure we don't miss that deadline.
June.
Well,
So
I think
this June there will be nothing true.
we're going to have, I mean, certainly we'll have one or more budget workshops.
Yeah,
along the way.
I'm okay with that.
As I understand.
So what, I
Excuse
don't,
me, I'm sorry.
I don't really understand, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I don't see why we would need to bring up that specific thing if we're going to look at it all, and we're going to have, and when you say transparent, I mean, we can, we notify, we do the advertising of a budget workshop, and people can come and watch, and so we would, at some point, we'll know, and the administrative code provides that we've got to review all that, but again, just in the inherent process of creating a budget, that's what a budget is, reviewing to see if we've got sufficient revenue, if we need to add to, cut back here or there, on either side, revenue or expense.
Yeah, I was going to say, as I understand what we want to do, we just want to assure the public that we're going to take a look at it. We take a look at every revenue source every year, but I think we made a commitment tonight that we would take a look at it, and we just want to put that in a ordinance form to make sure we look at it. We'll look at it anyway, but it just reassures the public that we are going to take a look at it, and not as part of a longer bureaucratic budget process.
Well,
I'll talk to Mr. Doolittle. I'll get satisfied with it. We'll move on tonight.
Okay.
I do have one other thing I'd like to bring up. Okay. I'm full of information tonight.
Right.
Can we put? I mean, we listen to all these people talk out here, and you know, you keep hearing vehicle. Can we put a 6-month freeze on any vehicles until we see what this tax is going to bring us in? Is that any interest to anybody, or?
Well, do you want to make a motion to do that?
I'd like to make a motion to put a 6-month freeze on buying any vehicles in county government unless it is an emergency vehicle and it's an emergency.
I'll second.
All right, discussion on that.
Do we have any great needs right now? We don't have any scheduled to be bought in the next 6 months, do we?
So correct. We expended the money on the cars we intended to buy this year anyway. We don't typically make those decisions again until next November. The only thing that we have done is where we had a couple vehicles that were totaled in the sheriff's department, so we had to make those replacements because we don't have very many spares. But those got probably 2/3 of that paid for by
Insurance.
But there are vehicles that you've already approved.
We've already approved
that we
some,
have not
right.
paid for because they have not been delivered yet. So
And I understand that. I want to put it on any new vehicles because it seems like every month or 2 or 3 we see something pop up, and until we see what we're going to do with this, what this revenue, the tax is going to bring in, I think we need to put a freeze on them.
So just spitballing for a minute. Somebody runs into my car and totals it. Am I walking?
I will find you something. You got old 4-wheel drive, don't you? Okay, you'll be all right. No, I said emergency. I mean, I would say their insurance to pay for your car.
Oh, you mean if it's covered by insurance? I mean,
somebody else is paying for it. That's not us.
Well, you're just talking about extra
Extras.
cars.
I don't want to see any more
You're not
cars.
talking about replacing cars that
Right.
got,
No, he said no cars at all.
well,
We're not
I guess,
buying.
yeah, you said no cars except emergency vehicles and only when it's an emergency.
Right.
But are you intending for it to be that, well, I guess, no additional cars beyond the count that we have now? Is that?
Pretty much. I mean, I got a guy calls me every day telling me where county vehicles are. I'm tired of getting his calls. I'm gonna let him know that we put a stop to buying any more vehicles for the time being. And I don't think we need to spend money and buy vehicles until after we see where the tax is gonna land. And if, I mean, we don't have the money to do it. We don't, we shouldn't do it.
I think that it seems to me to, if it's the, just not buy more vehicles than we already have, that count be the same, I guess, possibly see that. I don't know that it would be a reason why we would need more vehicles than we have, but it would seem like, I'm not so sure why we would need to do that. I mean, I think we trust ourselves not to buy vehicles that we don't think are necessary, and to put a moratorium, it seems to be, in my mind, just unnecessary, given that we're going to look closely at that anyway. But if it's that,
Well, we have to approve the purchase of all vehicles anyway, don't we? It'd be by bid, and I think that's all vehicles, whether they're paid for directly by county funds or indirectly by other funds that come in as revenue to a government agency.
What if we just agreed to take any information on vehicles off of the consent agenda and put it on the public agenda?
I could probably live with that.
And then we give everyone notice that we're going to raise eyebrows at anything that says vehicle.
I live with that.
I think we already got, don't we put anything over 20,000 on the public? Didn't we have kind of a?
The bids go on the public.
But I guess the starting process
The
might.
bids do go on the public.
The bids go in the public.
Go on the public.
Yeah.
So is that what y'all want to do? Because I have a question now. Can you withdraw your motion and withdraw your second? Because we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I'll withdraw if we're going to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so.
I've also asked Mr. Doolittle to provide a copy of a list of all the vehicles we own and which ones are drive-home vehicles. And I think we need to review and accept and adopt a policy on that, because I think we have, in some instances, too many vehicles being driven home that probably don't need to be driven home. But I'd like to see a report on that. We need to discuss that and adopt a policy on drive-home vehicles.
We have a policy, though. Do we have, in the code, did we not get that done?
No, we did not.
It's been talked about for a long time, but I'm not sure we ever adopted it.
Right. We have not presented it.
Yeah, I think we've got a draft, or maybe it's not a final draft. I mean, okay, so, well, how about if we, Steve and I work on finishing that draft of the policy?
Okay.
Does that work?
And can we review it before it gets on the agenda?
Well, you get everything several days ahead.
I mean, before it gets on the agenda, can we get a copy ahead of time to review it before it's on the orders for a meeting? Because sometimes when it gets on the orders, it's,
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to get something on a Friday, we have to vote on a Monday. I'd like to have time to look at it and make sure it's,
All right.
not that I don't trust, but I'd like to have some
I
input.
don't think there's an urgency probably to have it anyway. We'll get it to you just as quick as we can. So is there was that a motion? Or?
No, it was not a motion.
We're just.
We're waiting on you now. We're going to get you a car if somebody
Now
wrecks
you're
you.
going to give me a KRS when you're going to the executive session.
So we're going to.
Yeah. Let me see. Where are we here?
I think we're getting ready for an executive session.
Yes.
It'd be under number 5, a specific proposal by a business entity where public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity as permitted by KRS 61-810-1G.
And can we include the legal update to number 2 there? Litigation. I have a question on litigation.
Oh, you do?
For the county attorney, yeah.
Okay.
It won't take long, but.
And also proposed or pending litigation as permitted by KRS 61-810-1C.
Can you give me a
Is there a motion for that?
So made.
All right, and a second.
Second.
Is further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, so we'll adjourn for that, and then when we come back, we'll just recess.
8:80.
All right.